Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am! Jackpot!
I recently saw this rumor circulating online about Naughty Dog working on yet another title alongside Intergalactic, and at first I didn't really care much, to be honest, as I just thought, well, it's probably just another Naughty Dog game that Neil will touch and will be responsible for, so chances are I'm not going to play it anyway, so who cares really? Until said rumors about this new title pointed to the fact of said title potentially being Uncharted 5. And no, just no. Why do all old fan favorite IPs have to get destroyed nowadays? Just make new games that you want to add your crazy takes in and leave old IPs alone, especially when said IP wasn't even your creation to begin with, but a project you took over, pushed its original creator out of not only the project itself, but out of a job altogether, and then scrapped all her ideas and almost ruined the game. If you haven't heard, seen, or played many of the just incredible pieces of art and accomplishments that Neil Druckmann has graced Naughty Dog with, well, consider yourself lucky. Because ever since he managed to essentially take over Naughty Dog, he has destroyed The Last of Us 2. He also remade the first installment, only this time around it was full of technical issues, at the full price of your 70 hard-earned dollars, that's 80 euros by the way, for a game you've already played before, but can now enjoy it again in its full buggy glory. The show wasn't that great either, and while one would think the fact he destroyed his own creation and the show based on it as well would be enough, it really wasn't, because his ego, greed, and talent almost ruined his co-worker's project too, and forced her to walk away from the studio altogether. Not to mention the fact that his overall attitude has caused problems with many of the voice actors themselves. If you're not aware of what happened behind the scenes during the development of Uncharted 4, then I'd strongly recommend watching this video going over just how much of a crazy power struggle was taking place during the game's development, as the team from The Last of Us and the team from Uncharted were butting heads constantly, especially Neil and Amy Hennig. This power struggle allegedly forced Amy Hennig to eventually walk out of the studio and leave her creation to the hands of Neil, we don't use the word fan, Druckmann. And even Richard McGonagall, the voice of Sally, alluded to the fact that even he didn't appreciate Neil's weird behavior and the fact he took over Amy's place, essentially making sure she was out of the studio once and for all as well. So much so that even the actors themselves thought about walking away from the project after Amy walked out. She loved her project so much, however, that she even urged these actors not to leave even after her departure, because we all needed closure and the actors were contractually obligated to, do their jobs.
What happened with Uncharted 4? Because Amy Hennig dropped out and all, what was that like for you? Did that impact you?
It was very upsetting.
Yeah.
We were in production on 4, and we got a call one day that Amy had been replaced. I don't know whether this is public knowledge or not, but that was not her choice. It was the company's choice.
Yeah, that's public. Yeah.
We actually all got together and talked about just walking away. We just thought, well, we'll finish it up and we'll walk away, and we'll keep the series intact, as it were.
And was Amy happy with that final game? Did you ever ask her?
Yeah, she said, "Don't do it. Don't walk away."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome, man.
Then Neil essentially scrapped everything Amy had worked on and planned for Uncharted 4, making Sam Nate's brother for some reason, when Amy's original plan was to make him an old associate of Nate's, whom Nate had left behind during that Panamanian prison escape. And now he held a grudge because he left him behind and so on. Which, by the way, made so much more sense because what do you mean Nate never told anyone he had a brother before, even if he thought his brother was no longer alive? Who doesn't disclose something like that to their spouse or father figure partner? What about his mother's research? How come he never talked about that? Or tried to find Avery's treasure in the previous installments? This was his mom's research. I know many will say, oh, the mystery was too hard to solve, or it was too far-fetched for Nate to believe was actually true, but come on, he has seen way crazier things and has solved way harder riddles and mysteries before. Why wouldn't he attempt to solve these for his mom's sake earlier, just in memory of her, even if it was just for closure? And why hadn't he even talked about it before? That was his mom's research. Why wouldn't he, have mentioned any of that to Sally, if not Elena, or both? Not to mention his brother Sam, because if you make the decision to make Sam his brother, then I just refuse to believe that our kind-hearted and loyal thief wouldn't have gone back to make sure his brother wasn't, in fact, alive. Even if it was just a 1 in a million chance, Nathan would have gone back to make sure his brother was or wasn't okay. The game does try to make it look like Nathan tried to go back and really made sure that everything was okay, but he checked and everything said that Sam was no longer alive, which is a very cheap and convenient way to write yourself out of that character inconsistency. But still, we're still faced with a problem that Sam was supposedly out of prison and went to find the treasure from the get-go. He didn't even attempt to, contact his brother, tell him, hey, I'm alive, can you help me because I'm in trouble and we need to find this treasure or whatever. He only did that way later, years later, so what? So this entire thing was completely out of character for Nathan, which makes sense, I guess, if you think about it, since Neil didn't know the first thing about a character he hadn't even created himself. And the only person that could help him with, staying true to the actual character had walked out because he was taking over her project and dictating what should or shouldn't be included in the game she created. Other changes were of course made to Amy's original plan, and of course you can tell because the writing seems very different from the previous installments, not to mention the women, villains, and apparently the fact that Nate and Elena were supposed to have a son originally, but they changed that too to Cassie for some reason, because, I don't know, it's Neil Druckmann, I guess, and no possibility of a potential future male protagonist should even exist in his eyes, I guess. Because obviously a son going down the path that his father followed would be way too toxic, guys. Come on, that's toxic masculinity. Don't be misogynistic. Do not promote toxic masculinity. You need to do better. Those are all very toxic and misogynistic tropes in writing, but fear not, he has a real talent for writing actually believable women. I mean, the guy wrote Nadine, one single woman who can beat up 2 men, one of whom has been going on adventures for all his life, by the way, fighting all kinds of enemies, including mercenaries like herself, jumping around and thus having incredible overall strength and so on. But this one random mercenary woman can not only fight that one guy, but both him and his brother at the same time, while also disarming them, because that is just super realistic. As realistic as these being an attainable body for a woman, especially in a post-apocalyptic world where supplements, steroids, and just good old plain protein are all extremely difficult to acquire or come by for that matter. A woman who can of course also take on any and all men in said post-apocalyptic world, because obviously, since if this entire lefty movement has taught us anything, is that men are of course better women than women themselves are. So obviously a woman couldn't write women in a realistic way, but Neil has nailed it down. He knows exactly what a woman acts and looks like. We can obviously tell. Because obviously Neil is a feminist, and no one is a better feminist than a man. And he's such a feminist that he just took over a woman's entire life project and, took it over, scrapped everything she had to say and wanted for her project and dreamed for her project, and made it whatever he wanted instead. What's more feministic than that? I'll stop being sarcastic and sardonic here, because this is actually my problem with this rumor. I really didn't mind Nate and Elena having a daughter, of course. In fact, I thought it was super adorable and cute that Nate became a girl dad. But my main worry is if this rumored game is Uncharted 5 after all, Cassie will inevitably be made into the protagonist and turned into Neil's signature woman protagonist, or what he thinks women look and act like, aka an Abby or Nadine-like character full of arrogance, toxicity, and toxic girl boss energy, disgracing both the character herself as well as the franchise as a whole by ridiculing previous fan-favorite characters and filling the game to the brim with his own personal socio-political views. Honestly, if this is in fact Uncharted 5, it will inevitably look and sound like the new Indiana Jones, to be honest, which really broke my heart to see, and I for one do not want to see the same fate for this incredible franchise either. So, if you're asking me, I really hope this rumored title isn't Uncharted 5. It could be literally anything else Neil wants to make. Just please do not let that man anywhere near Uncharted ever again. He almost ruined the game altogether, so just please do not let that man near Amy's project ever again, because I'm just so very tired of seeing old franchises I used to adore get completely annihilated by activists masquerading as devs who call their fans names simply because they give them feedback they do not agree with. And in my opinion, Naughty Dog made a huge mistake letting Amy Hennig leave and allowing Neil, of all people, to steer the company, because he looked at the iceberg and decided to point the company straight at it at full speed. And we're all currently looking at it speeding ahead towards its inevitable demise. I mean, The Last of Us 2 was... yeah. Then the series came and... yeah. Then their new title was announced and... yeah. And in between all these amazing achievements, Neil had to step back from his creative role in the series, admit The Last of Us 3 is unlikely to ever happen, and the show losing literally half its viewership after all but one season. But of course, in today's upside-down gaming world, these are all good signs of a major success and award-winning project.